Well, top stories and trending topics and everything in between. This is Good Morning Uganda, your smart start to your 24th day of June 2025. Rainy as it is, but we're here to serve you and make sure that you start your day in style. My name is Julie Nantabamsisi. Good morning. You are watching UBC TV. Always here to inspire you and coming to you live from Nile Avenue. I'm not alone, always with the usual suspect, Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono. Now, an ex-member of parliament from Uganda's parliament in the year 1962, that is the Independence Parliament, passed away at the age of 98. But here's the news. The news is that he died trying to make ends meet in this lifetime. Ali Hassahia, one of Uganda's pioneer legislators and member of parliament in 1962, the Independence Parliament, passed away, and he was under the DP party representing the then South Central Bukedi constituency. Now, watching and reading such a story makes me think about a lot. Where's the place? Is it a place of service, balancing in between the place of service, the place of work, it being a job, and the place of the aftermath? What lifestyle, what legacy is one living? Lots of thoughts to ponder on, but I wonder what Robert thinks of this. Robert, good morning.
A lovely morning to you, and of course our viewer. Thank you very much for waking up with us to kickstart your day. Very informed and of course able to fit in any discussion worth the salt of you talking about it. Now, 1962, if I got you right, by then Parliament was all about a service. And one would say there wasn't so very much for someone that when they retire, they'll live a comfortable life.
Right.
But also you must note that even today, we have many that leave Parliament and turn into, for lack of a better word, paupers.
Exactly.
Reason being, first and foremost, they invest so much to get to Parliament. Let me tell you, the 11th Parliament, some had a smooth sail because there was what we call the wave. 10th Parliament, it was very hard. And I want to tell you that 12th Parliament, now where we are seeing people pick nomination forms, it's going to be more of spending to get the vote than maybe what was in the 11th Parliament. Because those that thought they would go through because of the wave, now things have changed. People have seen the products of the wave. Some have done tremendously, others have let them down completely. So now when you go back and you think because I have this year, there's the wave, the story is going to be very different. So you have to make mass investment. But let's look at why sometimes our politicians have these big offices, and at the end of the day, we know they are getting a lot of money and they retire with almost nothing.
And adding to that, there's also usually a lot of debt in between.
Yes, now, this is the story that is very interesting.
Yes.
First and foremost is the pledges they make when campaigning. I listen to many of them. I've been watching many picking nomination forms. One says, I'll build a hospital. The other, I'm going to work on roads. The other, now, these are not the jobs or the duties of a member of parliament.
But they sound like they are the very ones to deliver.
These consume a lot of money. And they tend to go out of their way to fulfill what they promised. Now, constructing a road or a hospital or a health facility takes a lot of money.
True.
Now, two, many of those, they promise educating students. Now, you find that a member of parliament, on his earnings, he has to pay school fees for a number of children. Then the functions, they are always invited on. And you must go. The burials, I know a member of parliament who was a carpenter, a furniture store, where if a person dies, he's told and they just go and pick a coffin. Now,
wow.
Also, Uganda, we have what you're going through, Julie. I know because you work on TV, I work on TV. We have expectations.
Yes.
Someone becomes a member of parliament, they have to upgrade, either get a loan and get a better house in their constituency, drive a better car. There are places you don't go to, so they tend to live an artificial lifestyle. That their earnings, because of how they spend so much, so the expensive life they lead, coupled, there's one thing I witnessed when they're swearing in members of parliament. All banks at parliament there. All banks. And they are yearning to give these people loans of up to maybe 1 billion shilling. Now, if you're going to get your salary and in 5 years they are going to be deducting, and you have a debt of £1 billion shilling. Remember, you could also maybe have borrowed or sold property to come to parliament. So that place there, and you can only benefit from their parliamentary circle if you've served 2 terms.
Right.
Now, all of them die to come back for the second term. And if the first time you got a loan, you sold property, now the second term. So it is a place that when we are out here, we admire so much. But when you get in there, the reality is you can walk on the street, no one is going to ask you for money. A member of parliament, if they are going their constituency, they have to have money alongside them. So it's a life that at the end of the day.
It's about time we all got back to the drawing table and understood the real gist of the matter. Members of parliament are not supposed to provide for us. They are actually just supposed to legislate laws and lobby, but not necessarily.
Just like you meet Julie,
yes,
and you ask for 10,000, and if she says she does it, you're like, how? That TV personality.
Exactly.
So she has to make sure she moves with money.
So let all of us cut down on those expectations. Each one of us is here to just do their job in terms of actual service, and not to make money bags and give them to you or anyone who has expectations. But on that note, let's have a look at what is on the local scene.
Let's begin with Saturday, because this may affect a number of people. So let's make it our first story. Now, President of Uganda, who is also the NRM chairperson, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is set to pick his nomination forms on Saturday, the 28th of this month. According to the chairman, NRM Electoral Commission, Dr. Tango Doi, the president will pick forms for presidency and chairman of the Central Executive Committee, SEC. The National Resistance Movement Electoral Commission has cautioned and continues to nominate its members for the upcoming party primary elections for members of parliament, mayors, and LC5 chairpersons. The chairperson of the commission, Dr. Tango Doi, says the exercise continues up to 30th of this month. More aspirants continue to return their nomination forms, expressing interest to represent their people. So plan well. There may be a bit of inconveniences on Saturday. Now, the government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has facilitated the safe evacuation of 41 Ugandan students from the war between Israel and Iran. While receiving the students at Entebbe International Airport, Prime Minister Robert Nabanja said the NRM government remains committed to evacuating Ugandans who are still stranded in the affected countries. Over 40 Ugandans, citizens pursuing bachelor's and master's degree courses from various universities in Iran, including Iran embassy staff, have been safely evacuated from the Israel-Iran conflict and returned home. The students arrived at Entebbe International Airport yesterday afternoon, were ushered into the press lodge and officially received by the Prime Minister Robert Nabanja. Nabanja appreciated the neighboring countries that the Ugandan government engaged to secure safe passage for its citizens. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs collaborated with several embassies, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, and other partners to facilitate the evacuation of the Ugandan students from the war zone. General Felix Plaije commended the Prime Minister for prioritizing the safety of Ugandans during emergencies. Among those evacuated were freshers who had just joined the universities and finalists nearly completing. Nabanja pledged to work with the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Education to ensure the affected students complete their degrees and master's program. Following a weekend security operation in which a suspected terrorist linked to the ADF was killed, our reporters returned to Kalere to assess the situation at the market. Business had resumed, though security protocols remain unclear. Police urged local leaders to step up security surveillance, and the joint security forces over the weekend killed a suspected terrorist believed to have been on a mission to bomb Kalere Market in Kampala. According to eyewitnesses, the operation temporarily halted traffic, creating the impression that the head of state was expected to use the route. The operation brought business to a standstill. During the operation, Cadman Mpima, a product delivery man at Kalere Market, was hit by a stray bullet. He was rushed to Mulago Hospital for further management. Following this incident, police in Kampala have urged leaders in crowded areas to enhance their security surveillance. Market vendors have commended the security forces for their response to terror threats, but urged that alternative tactics should be considered. This marks the second security operation in June 2025 in which a suspected terrorist was killed. The first took place in Munyonyo. And finally, from the local scene, the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda has rolled out the national mobilization for a peaceful, credible 2026 election, stability and social cohesion under the theme Working Together for Peace, Free and Fair and Credible 2026 elections in Uganda. The campaign seeks to promote national unity, responsible political engagement, and peaceful participation throughout the entire electoral process as Uganda gears up for the 2026 general elections. Bishop Joshua Riley outlined the core objective of the mobilization, including civic education, community engagement, the promotion of tolerance, and advocacy for transparency. Presiding over the launch, His Grace the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu urged political stakeholders, activists, and the general public to focus on debating national issues rather than attacking personalities. He emphasized the importance of constructive dialogue throughout the election season. He also called upon Ugandans to reject all forms of corruption, particularly vote buying and bribery by political aspirants, in order to safeguard the credibility of 2026 elections. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Mugenyi Byabakama, dismissed public allegation that the Commission operates under the influence of the ruling NRM party. He reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to operating within the law as provided by the Constitution of Uganda. Well, that brings us to the end of our local stories this morning.
Very interesting, and thank you very much, Robert, for that report. Now let's take a trip to the countries abroad and have a look at what is going on there. And starting off with the United States President Donald Trump says that Iran and Israel have agreed to a complete and total ceasefire. Yeah, he says that the two countries have agreed to a total ceasefire, which will come into effect in the coming hours. Trump's announcement on Monday came shortly after an Iranian missile attack on Al Udeid air base in Qatar, which houses U.S. troops. On the assumption, quote unquote, on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I'd like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war, Trump said in a social media post. This is a war that could have gone for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Neither Israel nor Iran have confirmed the agreement. Trump's statement suggested that Iran would stop firing at Israel hours before the Israeli military ends its operations. And reporting from Tehran, Al Jazeera's Tawhid Asadi noted that there has not been an official confirmation of the deal more than an hour after Trump's announcement. President Trump, a very interesting human being. But moving on, staying with the U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for President Donald Trump's administration to resume deportations of migrants to countries other than their homeland. By 6-3, the justices reversed a lower court order requiring the government to give migrants a meaningful opportunity to tell officials what risks they might face being deported to a third country. The court's 3 liberal judges dissented from the majority ruling, saying it was rewarding lawlessness The case involves 8 migrants from Myanmar, South Sudan, Cuba, Mexico, Laos, and Vietnam, who were deported in May on a plane said to be heading for South Sudan. The Trump administration said they were the worst of the worst. Boston-based U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy ruled that removals had violated an order he issued in April that migrants must have a chance to argue they could be tortured or killed if they were removed to third countries, even if their other legal appeals had already failed. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson criticized the majority's unsigned decision on Monday, calling it a gross abuse. Now, coming to the motherland, and to be precise, Kenya, 3 police officers in Kenya have been charged with the murder of a 31-year-old blogger who died in police custody earlier this month. Albert Ojwang's death has sparked outrage in Kenya, with protests held to demand justice. Mr. Ojwang was arrested after Kenya's Deputy Police Chief Eliud Lagat filed a complaint accusing the blogger of defaming him on social media. Mr. Lagat stepped aside last week pending the outcome of investigations into Ojwang's death. He has denied any wrongdoing. The 3 police officers, Samson Kiprotich, Talam James Mkwana, and Peter Kimani, were charged along with 3 civilians. All 6 appeared in court on Monday but have not yet pleaded. Police initially said that Mr. Ojwang died on self-inflicted wounds, but were forced to retract the statement after an autopsy found that he was likely to have died from assault wounds. A street vendor was shot during a demonstration last week in the capital, Nairobi, over Mr. Ojwang's death, sparking renewed outrage from Kenyans who accuse police of using excessive force against protesters. Boniface Kariuki was reportedly selling masks when a uniformed police officer fired a bullet at close range, critically injuring him. Well, that brings us to the end of what is on the foreign scene. What's in the press today?
Very interesting stories here. Here have 82% of Ugandans sampled. They will vote in 2026 polls. That is the new vision there. Now, Buganda least prepared for 2026 general elections. Oh, yeah. I thought it's the epitome of politics. Now, wow. Here we are. Now, landlords warned against evictions. That is President Yoweri Museveni warning landlords. He's made this one. Now, we have woman cited in the death of the doctor. And of course, this was another case of interest, the death of this doctor. Now, here we have, there's a free magazine for you. Why are beef prices increasing? Find out more of that. Then the 150 billion road network launched in Kampala. Now let me go to the Daily Monitor.
Interesting headline.
Hi. Daily Monitor, veterans of the game. Which game? This is politics. People have mastered how to be the darlings of their electorate in their constituencies and have been around for some good time. General Moses Ali, he's been around, he's represented his people. Honorable Matia Kasaija, Ephraim Kamuntu. This one has a very interesting poster. Then we have Peter Rokeres. We have here Hilary Onek, JJ Odong, Jenoka Hindo Tafire, Jim Mufwezi, Musa Echweru. We have Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the Right Honorable Felix Kot Ogong. Now, these have stayed for some time in their constituency as the darlings of their people. And yet again, they are coming back.
And their different ages have also been tagged.
Now here we have Israel Hitzira. This Evan Prison says strike on Tehran, our biggest yet. We don't know where this will end. And I want to look at what the Lizard has here for us to say. Veterans of the political game. There are emulating. Oh no, let me leave that. Yeah, let me just leave that.
All right, let's quickly fly 45 minutes to Kenya. Daily Nation, the warmongers. That is the headline in the Daily Nation. And in there, are we ready? Principals warn on grade 10 transitions. Also matters athletics, big leap of faith inside Kipyegon's monumental breaking project in Paris. And also their shame action will be taken against people beating drums of violence, warns National Cohesion Agency. Looking at the Citizen, inside Tanzania's nuclear power generation plant, that is a headline in the Citizen. And EAC cuts budget amid non-remittance of dues by member states. And matters national scorecard, Mwinyi lists success in House of Reps speech, and why Magufuli Bridge is a transformative national asset. Inclusive growth set for 63 billion shillings. EADB short in the area. And with that, we come to the end of what is in the dailies. Buy yourself a copy to get more. But for now, let's have a short break with some music, and that is Doreen Poff with Second Chance.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It's Joshua now. Topics and everything in between. This is Good Morning Uganda, your smart start to your 24th day of June 2025. Rainy as it is, but we're here to serve you and make sure that you start your day in style. My name is Julie Nantabamsisi. Good morning. You are watching UBC TV. Always here to inspire you and coming to you live from Nile Avenue. I'm not alone, always with the usual suspect, Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono. Now, an ex-member of parliament from Uganda's parliament in the year 1962, that is the Independence Parliament, passed away at the age of 98. But here's the news. The news is that he died trying to make ends meet in this lifetime. Ali Hassahia, one of Uganda's pioneer legislators and member of parliament in 1962, the Independence Parliament, passed away, and he was under the DP party representing the then South Central Bukedi constituency. Now, watching and reading such a story makes me think about a lot. Where's the place? Is it a place of service, balancing in between the place of service, the place of work, it being a job, and the place of the aftermath? What lifestyle, what legacy is one living? Lots of thoughts to ponder on, but I wonder what Robert thinks of this. Robert, good morning.
A lovely morning to you, and of course our viewer. Thank you very much for waking up with us to kickstart your day. Very informed and of course able to fit in any discussion worth the salt of you talking about it. Now, 1962, if I got you right, by then Parliament was all about a service. And one would say there wasn't so very much for someone that when they retire, they'll live a comfortable life.
Right.
But also you must note that even today, we have many that leave Parliament and turn into, for lack of a better word, paupers.
Exactly.
Reason being, first and foremost, they invest so much to get to Parliament. Let me tell you, the 11th Parliament, some had a smooth sail because there was what we call the wave. 10th Parliament, it was very hard. And I want to tell you that 12th Parliament, now where we are seeing people pick nomination forms, it's going to be more of spending to get the vote than maybe what was in the 11th Parliament. Because those that thought they would go through because of the wave, now things have changed. People have seen the products of the wave. Some have done tremendously, others have let them down completely. So now when you go back and you think because I have this year, there's the wave, the story is going to be very different. So you have to make mass investment. But let's look at why sometimes our politicians have these big offices, and at the end of the day, we know they are getting a lot of money and they retire with almost nothing.
And adding to that, there's also usually a lot of debt in between.
Yes, now this is the story. This is the story that is very interesting.
Yes.
First and foremost is the pledges they make when campaigning. I listen to many of them. I've been watching many picking nomination forms. One says I'll build a hospital, the other I'm going to work on roads, the other now. These are not the jobs or the duties of a member of parliament.
But they sound like they are the very ones to deliver.
These consume a lot of money, and they tend to go out of their way to fulfill what they promised. Now, constructing a road or a hospital or a health facility takes a lot of money.
True.
Now, two, many of those, they promise educating students. Now, you find that a member of parliament, on his
was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the rider selection campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. If you've just joined us, welcome to the show. Good morning. And if you've been with us since the start, thank you for being on UBC TV, always here to inspire you. Time for the real, where we get to engage in a topic. A topic that you and us here get to share our 2 cents on, sometimes with an expert, sometimes it's just us sharing what we think about that particular topic. So be part of the conversation. 0709602592. That is the WhatsApp number that you are able to text to, so that you also share your 2 cents rather. Now, each year on 20th June, every single year, it's World Refugee Day. And it's a day where we celebrate the resilience and heart of refugees for choosing safety by leaving places where wars have been quite common and have turned into war zones, and seeking places where safety matters and their lives matter at that, especially places that are filled with conflict and persecution. And today we are looking at that direction of conversation, especially in regards with refugees, sustaining the refugee crisis in Uganda. Uganda being a country that is the largest refugee holder in Africa, about 1.8 million refugees that are in Uganda at that. So be on the show and share your 2 cents on that, Robert. As we look at 20th June, which is celebrated, commemorated every year. It was commemorated last week on Thursday, which was 20th June. In your perspective, what exactly is the significance of 20th June World Refugee Day?
We must first of all understand that no one chooses to be a refugee. I want to believe under normal circumstances. It is trouble. It is a run for life that makes them a refugee.
Right.
Some Ugandans were refugees sometime. My parents were refugees in Kenya for some time. Now, we are talking of our brothers and sisters from Eritrea, Somalia, DRC, South Sudan, Sudan, Rwanda. Yes, we still have some that came and didn't choose to go back. And some that allege they are running for safety. But by and large, we are talking about people from South Sudan and DRC, to be, the hugest numbers that you're having of late. Now, being a refugee is not choice. It is a race. It is a run for life.
Right.
Now, when we celebrate this day, and this year's theme was in solidarity with the refugees, it is recognizing that these people, one, exist and they live amidst us, but also we reflect on the causes. Why are they running? How do we best stop what is causing them to flee their country? But also we look at how do we help them, because they are coming to us as a safe haven. How best we help these people? I've had an opportunity to tour about 3 camps. I was in BD, which is one of the largest, I think, even in Africa.
Right.
Because we are first in Africa as the first largest refugee hosting country, 3rd in the world after Pakistan and Turkey. So if we are 3rd in the world, that means still have a huge number of these. But when you go to BD, that is in Yumbe, West Nile, when you look at the plight of these people, how they are suffering, most of those have just come in and they have not tested our policy. They have not yet been resettled, as in given a piece of land, given this and that. When you look at sanitation there, the public toilet, some have not yet dug their toilet, open door defecation. When you look at the fact that they have cut food ratios now, they are now refugees that are no longer getting aid. They are there. They are telling them, we are now looking at the most vulnerable. For you who can find your way to survive, as long as you are aware your bullets are not flying over your head. So this day helps us to reflect, 1, on the causes why they are fleeing, 2, on their welfare as refugees. How are we helping them live a decent life? But also reflect on the challenges they are causing the host communities, and how do we have that coexistence, peaceful coexistence.
Very interesting. And you've mentioned something regarding them now fending for themselves, given that funding is now a tricky space to, engage. And one would obviously understand that now at this point they have to work. But remember, every place of access lately in Uganda requires one to have a national ID. For some, a refugee ID makes them think twice about employing that person because of security reasons, trust reasons. But anyways, in your view, how have refugees contributed to the communities they live in?
Well, first and foremost, we must know that we have a huge population of refugees in this country. It's estimated that by the end of 2025, we will have hit 2 million refugees as Uganda now. These refugees are divided into 2 categories. We have what we call the urban refugees. The urban refugees, these are people you see in urban centers. They are running businesses. When you go to Chisenyi, predominantly for Somalis, you see they have their businesses. They are selling is it called card Mairunji? There are those running small retail shops, running places, restaurants. There are those I never tasted a camel meat. I got an opportunity. They told me the butcher is there, so I went looking and I found there, and it was very delicious. So those in urban centers are engaged. That when you go to downtown Bitenji business, Congolese are everywhere. These are urban refugees. They stay within our communities, they buy from the shops we buy, they live the life that we live. They have managed.
And when it comes to homes, most homes now are filled with South Sudanese. And
what will also worry you is the landlords prefer them. For example, the Congolese, because they're in a foreign country, they won't run with your money, they won't escape at night, they don't want to be on the wrong side of the law, they pay in time, they pay higher. So those are the urban refugees. Now, we have those that are in settlements, the ones we talked about in Chiriandongo, the ones in Bidi, the ones in a number of camps that we have as a country. Now, these also benefit from our open policy. Now, this policy in these camps gives a refugee a piece of land for settlement, for them to cultivate. Because remember, we have a policy that has been highly praised by the international community. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, on very many platforms I've attended locally and internationally. One of the things they praise Uganda for is our open door refugee policy, where the refugee has the right to movement, the right to work, free access to social services, and they are more or less like Ugandans.
Actually, let's delve deeper into the policy. What does Uganda's refugee policy look like?
Now, Uganda's refugee policy is very unique, and I think it favors so much the refugees. No wonder no country in the world, much as they have urged them to emulate it, has taken up on it. One, it treats a refugee like a citizen. The only thing that a refugee doesn't have right to is participating in voting, because they are not Ugandans. But they have the same right as a Ugandan has, apart from those restricted to citizens of Uganda. A refugee cannot have a national ID of a Ugandan. They can't have an in like I do. Now, the open door policy allows refugees to work. There are countries when you're a refugee, you don't work. They'll round you up. Now here in Uganda, a refugee can invest, a refugee can do any job. That's when you move around. There's a place now in Lukuli, Buziga, Bunga, Eritreans. The entire streets, you may think you're in their motherland.
Ethiopian, Eritrean.
Yeah, Eritrean, because you may even think you've traveled to their country. You move around 5, 6, or whatever. You will see.
If I may ask, how are they operating businesses? And with a business, you can't avoid banks, you can't avoid certain systems. And these systems require national IDs.
Now what happens, these people are very organized. They have in them saving cultures, they have organizations, they have, there's a way they run their businesses. And now these people, because of that open policy, can work freely in Uganda. A refugee can start a saloon. A refugee can start a bar. A refugee in Uganda can start farming. So there's access to work. There's access to health. Our hospitals don't discriminate. That when you're a refugee, you come to hospital, you must have a special card to show your status if it's a government institution. No, you just go and you're treated. Our schools don't discriminate. That because you're a refugee, you must have an ID to show that for you are a refugee. Schools where my children go, where your children go, there's a refugee studying there. Now, that policy that is very welcoming, that makes a refugee very comfortable. That's why they'll cross so many countries, but come to Uganda, because they know that once you're in Uganda, it's a safe haven. A refugee has the same right when offended as you do, can report you to police here in Uganda, and the law will look at you fairly and equal. Ask our girls who have traveled to some countries, ask our citizens who have gone to some countries. Their policies are very different.
But looking at this policy, does this policy favor Uganda? Or it might need, it's about time it had some changes to it?
Well,
especially looking at balancing security matters versus humanitarian responsibility.
Now, One, I want to look at diplomacy.
Okay.
I want to remind you there's one time where rumors were running, one of our politicians from the opposition has gone to the UK Parliament, blah, 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 blah. Now, what happened? The document that came out praised Uganda, one, as a peaceful country, and one of the issues that were talked about was the high number of refugees we are hosting running away. So many Ugandans don't know that first for diplomacy, diplomatic relations, these huge refugees we are hosting are a credit to the government on various platforms globally. You say Uganda is not peaceful, people are running from Congo to Uganda. No fool would run from an area that is not safe and come to a country that is bleeding. So for
out
diplomacy,
of the frying pan into the fire.
yes, so for diplomacy, it works for our country and our leadership.
Okay.
That is one. Two, economic factors. Previously, leave alone now that there's been a lot of cuts here and there, but there was so much money coming in this country to aid refugees. Look at the World Food Program, look at the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. So many programs, so many monies come in for refugees in settlements. And these monies come in providing employment as well.
Right.
Now, there was a time when the funding was still so much in circulation. Look at how many cases you've heard of the Office of the Prime Minister, this amount of money for refugees, there is this, that, but they're talking of billions of money that was meant for. So all the times we had these sagas then cleared, well explained and all that. So economically, that policy now works. So that's the advantages. Diplomacy, economically when monies were still flowing in, and employment, but also there was a way they were creating market because the refugees in these settlements, first to begin with, they were buying goods from the locals. Now let's look at the bad side. Now this policy, why I say we need to make an amendment. These refugees are not Uganda's problem. No. Refugees are not our problem. They are coming from other countries. We are sheltering, we are helping other countries of their failures. Now, they are creating scramble for resources. When we have these camps, I've visited camps. This is Ugandan land, though it is designated. But our locals would have used that land better. So it is a camp, you have funny plots. These are a garden for refugee, There are shelters here, there are shelters. Now they are digging toilets here, there. So this is useful land.
If you talk about
and we are
land,
using it for settlement.
If you're talking about land, I imagine, especially those who are in urban centers, they are a bit well off. They are earning.
Yeah, for urban centers.
That means they are able
but
to
also
buy
they have
land.
their challenges to the host communities as well.
They do.
Let me tell you. Yeah,
But
so we want to start with the settlement and see.
I'm looking at the picture of land. When this refugee, they have businesses, that means they're earning and they're able to purchase land. What happens to what they buy as land? Do they own it because they are not citizens entirely?
Now, when it comes to land, we have laws, and I thank our country, we are good with the laws, but
Implementation is always...
Non-citizens are not supposed to own property.
Right.
Like land. They can get lease.
Yeah.
But in Uganda here, where you find a refugee having a land title, that they own property, they own structures.
And they are landlords.
But when you scratch our laws, they can, I think, co-own, or they can get a lease that after some time.
Right.
Now, that is a challenge. We have challenges with the enforcement of our laws, and sometimes we leave things to be as they are. But the pressure that refugees put on resources, say water, there's the pressure they put there. I say food. Now people will tell you that refugees are making prices of certain commodities hike. To look at urban refugees, how they're making rentals hike.
Yes.
I mean, if I have my rentals and Eritreans are going to come, I know they're not going to default, that is one. They're not going to escape at night, that is two. They're not going to disturb me. You know, tenants that are Ugandans here, you know, Musumbo, they're not going to disturb me at any one way. At the end of the month, my money is there.
Right.
They're not going to escape. They fear being taken to police because they are in a foreign land. Why would I give that house to Julie, who will call me and tell me, then also disturb me? So definitely anyone would prefer doing business with these refugees than doing business with the local people. But also, they are doing businesses that locals would be doing. Now, you have a saloon, there's a saloon for Litrians here, there's a saloon for you. And sometimes they are very stingy and strict that they support their own.
They are.
One
sometimes, they
yes,
always do,
yes. So if a refugee has a boutique, you have a boutique. Don't expect to
have customers.
To have customers.
Yeah.
If you have a salon, they have a salon. If you have a bakery, you know, and they start their bakery. So I saw even if you have a driving school and they start a driving school. So there's this competition that comes in and sometimes doesn't favor the locals. No wonder sometimes we've even seen a little bit of violence.
Indeed.
So much as it has, there are two sides of the coin, but I think we need to revise our policy. One, we need to tighten that Uganda, East Africa has a number of countries. Some are peaceful, not that much bad, but we can't sustain this.
We can share the burden.
We need to have some strings attached. Rwanda is peaceful. We must say Kenya is peaceful, much as they also have some bit of refugees there. But this continuing flow in, where from I've been looking here at, from the 31st of, from Jan to May, can you believe we've had 15,017 new arrivals? So the influx, the speed, we need to tighten grip to see. But above all, I want to emphasize this, Judy. These refugees are not running from famine. They're not running from a natural disaster.
Yeah.
They are running from man-caused problems. We need to see countries where refugees are coming from stand with Uganda in terms of improving the welfare of these refugees. We need to come with permanent solutions to solve their problems so that we do not have these coming on. We can't sustain. We shall be placed for our open door policy, but a time may come, I fear to say, but I must say, when the locals are outnumbered by the refugees, there are places you can go to Chisenyi today. Look for the Ugandans there, look for the refugees there. Go to Rukulinanga and Konge. If we do a census and look how many in these areas, and that may not be very good for Uganda.
Right. What Robert says reminds me of a statement that it's not always okay to be nice, but it's okay to be good, but not always nice. And I'm closing this with a couple of your comments, and this is in the Omugaga Saurembo Enaweru, MP Dako Enansa na municipality refugee. And you say municipality, you say refugees nga. Okay, you find refugees, they have borders, and they are making money in this Kampala. And somebody else...
Tukutukus, they have tukutukus.
Yes.
And they carry their own.
Yep, that's true. They only have customers from their own. Good morning, UBC. We talk about refugees in Uganda bringing so much money in Uganda. How these refugees are living, how they survive in Uganda without money. And are many organizations financing them? Where is this money going, and refugees, how are refugees suffering? I think I got your comment right, but thank you so much for being on the show. And that brings us to the end of today's conversation.
Some of them are so strict.
They are strict. I haven't seen refugees intermarry that much. I really haven't seen many of them intermarry that much. But let's bring this to a close. The conversation does continue. You can comment on our X handle as well and share your opinions there. But up next is JMU Tourism Express. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
can now get all the chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the rider selection campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Uniquely ours. Explore Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. Once again, thank you for choosing UBC. My name is Zakia Lucky, and we are on Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. We are just in the field of color and art. Bringing you is the class of fabric mosaic, which is going to be digested by Mr. Magezi. He's going to tell us what this process is like, and with me are Miss Tourism contestants that are getting to be skilled. Remember, pageantry is not all about catwalks. This is their space now and time to be skilled and see what they can get out from all this entire experience. You saw us go through pottery, and now it's time for art. Let's see what we can find there.
Thank you, Zakia. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Magezi Collins Timothy, a visual artist from Kabale. And today we are going to be doing fabric mosaic. We can call it fabric collage or fabric patchwork. So these are the pieces we're going to be working with today. And all we're going to do is to use what we have to create what we don't have. We have a few materials here of fabric. There is, they are here. Then also these ones. And we shall be differentiating them according to color and shades, so that we're creating the contrast and everything. So we are going to get started. literally we are going to look for colors that match with the lion. There is something that is something like orange, something like yellow, you know, and we also have to add in the texture part of the drawing. So you can use fabrics that have some bit of rough texture. When you touch it, it feels a little bit rough. Those I think are going to go on the side of the men, so we can cut them big pieces so that later we can trim to make it clean. Then we use the dark parts, the dark fabrics for these dark parts, somewhere around here and also down here. Then we are also going to, for the parts of the eye, we shall have to cut these patterns, these round patterns, something like this, to cover up with a section of the eye. Then we are going to be using wood glue and paint brushes. We are going to use them for applying glue on the canvas so that it speeds up the process. So what we are going to do now, we first differentiate the colors. So you're going to cut the black fabrics, these ones. We don't need to put in plain colors. We just so that we add in texture, like the way you're seeing here. So for the start, we shall cut something that is more of triangular. Then we see if it fits there slightly. Now what you do, you paint around the area that you're going to put the fabric, so that you know, when you put, as I told you, the fabrics we are cutting, they have to be slightly bigger than the space, so that later we trim off the unwanted parts. But it's best when you put the wood glue onto the canvas, so that it helps you not to overlap. Now, if we had put the wood glue on the fabric, we would have covered up the part that is supposed to have these other colors.
We previously did take you out through the art class that is going to be coming in with Miss Tourism Southwest contestants. With me again is Mr. Magezi. He's going to be telling us the significance of art, especially in our theme, which is I Am My Culture. How are you, Mr. Magezi?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well done on this class.
Thank you.
Looking at the work that these girls are doing, it's just breathtaking. Yes, so we'd like to understand what's the relevance or the significance of art, or African mosaic, like you did call it, in tourism.
Well, like as you know, art is not all about painting, just art is about storytelling. And today we are telling a story about culture. We are telling a story about southwestern Uganda. Speaking of using fabric to create what we don't have, which is the fabric mosaic that we are working on here. And we chose these animals, the gorilla specifically, since it's more of an animal that symbolizes southwestern Uganda. And these fabrics we are using, most of them, as you can see, they are vitenge, and vitenge are more of fabrics that are significant to southwestern people. As I think you've seen people who do fashion in vitenge and all that. Yeah, so basically it's more of using fabric, but when we go deep into fabric, it's more of using vitenge to create what we want to do, to create, which is the gorilla and the lion.
Yes, you talked about art being about storytelling. What is the story behind a gorilla put on a frame that is going to be added onto fabric? What is the picture or the story that you have to tell within such a thing that you're putting up?
Well, a gorilla, as you all know, southwestern Uganda, what brings us out is a gorilla in the world of tourism. And when a person is, let's say, flying in to Uganda, when they are coming straight to southwestern Uganda, they specifically come because they know that we are rich in gorillas. We have plenty of gorillas. It's a home of gorillas. So that's the same reason as to why when you enter Kabale at the roundabout, you see gorillas, sculptures of a gorilla. Yeah, and this is who we are. This is what we share pride in. This is what puts us out there. So I can't, me personally, I can't go out there to, let's say, make a sculpture or something about like a tiger, you know, something like a giraffe, yet we don't have them here. So why we chose a gorilla, it's because it's who we are. That's what signifies southwestern Uganda in the part of tourism.
Yes, it's who we are, and that's just our identity. I did tell you I come from the same area. This is my region and my home district, and we are going to also get to hear from the contestants. What is it that they've managed to learn from this entire experience? That was it from Mr. Magezi. We are getting on to the class, but before we get into that, thanks to Davis as well, we are getting more skills. I'm telling you, today is about skilling, getting just a new hobby. So we'll be hearing from the contestants as well to get to learn about their insights. What did they learn from this class? Like he did say, art is about telling stories. Let's get to hear about one of the contestants' story. Okay, hello.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself and then...
I am Bridget Karunji. I'm one of the contestants for Miss Tourism Southwestern Uganda.
Yes, so please take us through what you managed to learn today in regards to art and the theme.
Yeah, so today we did something that they call fabric mosaic. Us using the different fabrics with the vibrant colors enough, the chitenje pieces, it's part of our culture. The chitenje symbolize our culture, and then the colors, they fill us with warmth, like they had earlier taught us. Art is therapy, art is storytelling, and I just see a story right now.
You talked about storytelling and you seeing the story. What is your story?
Well, my story from my piece here is something bold, something proud, and that's exactly what we are. We are proud of our culture.
What more can you talk about the people of Southwest? Bold, and that is her story. So stick around as we get into the poetry class that will be coming in the next segment.
Uniquely ours. Explore Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Time for GMU Business. My name is Julie Nataba Musisi. Welcome back from Tourism Express. Time to find out what's in the world of business, and we're starting off with matters insurance. Uganda is on the verge of unveiling Takaful, an Islamic insurance product designed to complement the country's efforts in deepening financial inclusion and diversifying insurance services. Now, ahead of its rollout, the Insurance Regulatory Authority has held consultative engagements with key stakeholders in the insurance sector. Uganda is set to license its first fully compliant Takaful operator, having fulfilled the minimum regulatory requirements. This was disclosed during an Insurance Regulatory Authority organized consultative engagements in Kampala with key stakeholders in the insurance sector. Takaful is a form of Islamic insurance in which members contribute to a pool system to mutually guarantee each other against loss or damage rooted in principles of solidarity, cooperation, and shared responsibility. A Sharia scholar, Dr. Twaha Ahmed Kasule, welcomed the development, noticing that adopting Islamic-compliant insurance models is timely. He believes it will expand access and expand penetration, especially among the uninsured. Takaful insurance, governed by Sharia law, emphasizes ethical behavior requiring operators and participants to avoid riba, that is interest, maizir, that is gambling, and gara, that is excessive uncertainty. A lecturer of Islamic law at the Islamic University in Uganda, Shraf Mutagubia, stresses the importance of maintaining a balance between commercial sustainability and spiritual integrity, and if Takaful is to successfully rival conventional insurance models in Uganda. At the engagement, experts shared insights on what it will take for Takaful to thrive in Uganda's insurance landscape, including legal frameworks, consumer education, and trust-building mechanisms. Takaful was introduced globally as an ethical alternative to conventional insurance products, offering Muslims a compliant option while fostering inclusive participation in risk protection services. Now, government plans to prioritize the development of irrigation infrastructure and extend various forms of support to farmers in the next fiscal year. This includes designing irrigation schemes for both large and small farms, promoting the adoption of solar-powered systems, and supporting farmers in acquiring irrigation equipment. Specialists from the Sendea Institute for Energy and Management, along with local government officials in northern Uganda, argue that it is crucial to build a sufficiently large pool of personnel skilled in the installation and maintenance of irrigation and water pumping systems. Through water harvesting management techniques, the government also plans to sustain ongoing projects under the parish development model, which are aligned to sustainable agricultural output. Experts further emphasize that the most effective approach is to develop a nationwide pool of skilled technicians in irrigation and water pumping. The Sendea Institute for Energy and Management, STIFT UNG, and the Daniel Komboni Vocational Institute in Gulu have committed to training more technicians to meet the irrigation needs of farming communities. As part of the micro-scale irrigation program, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries also plans to support farmers in purchasing and using individual irrigation equipment through a matching grant scheme. During the State of the Nation address, President Yoweri Museveni underscored the importance of micro-irrigation systems in reinforcing the progress being achieved under the parish development model. Now, moving on, Housing Finance Bank has held the second edition of its Business Clinic series, a platform designed to empower Uganda's SMEs across key sectors, including renewable energy, affordable housing, agribusiness, and technology. Hosted at the bank's head office in Kololo, the event offered practical insights into accessing finance, managing business effectively, and building sustainable models. Managing Director Michael Magabi emphasized the importance of the Business Clinic in addressing SME challenges, unlocking opportunities for innovation, and promoting inclusive economic growth. A key highlight of the event was the launch of a strategic partnership with the Uganda Green Enterprise Finance Accelerator, supported by the European Union. This partnership introduces tailored financial solutions for SMEs, including flexible loan products and innovative green financing options, such as partial repayment scheme that covers up to 33% of the loan principal as a grant. In the affordable housing sector, the bank showcased its collaboration with Easy Housing, aimed at supporting the development of low-cost, eco-friendly homes. Through customized housing development financing, Housing Finance is enabling developers to develop sustainable, scalable housing solutions. With a network of 18 branches across the country, Housing Finance Bank continues to support SMEs through impactful initiatives like the Business Clinic, reinforcing its commitment to Uganda's Vision 2040 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Well, now let's cross over and have a look at what the forex rates look like as of the 23rd day of June 2025. And the US dollar opened at 3,599.64 buying and was selling at 3,609.64. By midday, it was at 3,602.27 and selling at 3,612.27. It closed in at 3,604.23 and sold at 3,614.23, increasing value there. And looking at the British pound, it was buying at 4,841.56 and selling at 4,854.99. The euro was buying at 4,148.82 and selling at 4,160.34. The Kenyan shilling buying at 27.88 and selling at 27.96. And the Tanzanian shilling dropped value there to 1.34 and selling at 1.35. And the South African rand still drops, buying at 199.50 and selling at 200.05. Well, that brings us to the end of GMU Business. Up next is the agenda. Save the number 0709 602 592 so that you are a part of the conversation. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the Rider Selection Campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800-335-555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala 3rd floor to register now and win prizes worth millions.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth.
The argument that the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvesters in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geographer we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Once again, thank you always for choosing UBC TV here to inspire you. And like I always say, if you've just joined the show, thank you for joining. If you've been with us since the start, thank you indeed for choosing to tag along from the start up to this very point where we get to talk about matters teachers. Now, regarding the teachers' industrial action, arts teachers vow to continue their strike on. And we do have a guest in studio who has all the authority to speak into this very matter. But let me remind you to save that number because I know you'll have a lot to speak into it as well. And that is 0709-602-592. My name is Julie Nantaba Mosisi, and in studio with me is Mr. Juma Mwamula, who is the General Secretary of Uganda Private Teachers Union, but also the Vice Chairman General from NOTU. Good morning, Juma.
A very good morning to you, my sister Betty, to the management of UBC and to the viewers out there.
Why at this point are teachers striking and sticking to it, vowing not to put down their striking tools?
Teachers' strike has been one long overdue activity.
Right.
Drawn from the background of the general welfare of teachers. Over time, the country has been crying about the plight of a teacher. And yet we all believe that if we are aiming at quality education, then it must begin with the quality of a teacher. Now, at one time when a solution was almost being gotten, there was an approach that was deemed as a phased manner approach of enhancing teachers' welfare.
Right.
And so in that phased manner approach, the government chose to start with people who are teaching science subjects, science-related subjects. 2-3 years down the road, that has been the way. And so our colleagues were raised from the basic payment that everybody else was paying, a diploma holder from about 650,000 shillings to close to 2.5 millions.
Right.
A degree holder from about 1.2 millions to close to 4 million shillings. But the rest of other humanities teachers stayed in that manner. The explanation was that there was no money then that was enough for everybody. Meanwhile, the government was dedicated, and it would start with the scientists, and the other categories will also be worked on so soon. From that time on, our colleagues have been raising their voices to make reminders that truly the plight of those whose salaries were not enhanced is still bad.
Right.
But nothing was done. You may note that all workers in government service have a forum called the Public Service Negotiating Council, and the teachers' issues have been raised very firmly at the level of Public Service Council. There was even an agreement at one time that was signed between the unions and the government, including details of how enhancements are going to be done. Unfortunately, the government did not even complete the signing of the agreement, and eventually no one single term of the agreement was fulfilled. We saw our colleagues from humanities teachers also doing reminders up to a point where they got a commitment, I think from the Minister of Public Service, that there would be an immediate enhancement. It did not happen. Even the several letters that they have been making, I think did not yield responses. So that took them to the walls up to the point of issuing a warning. The laws of Uganda, particularly Employment and Labour Unions Act, provide that workers have a right to withdraw their labor, but there is another right that in accordance to the law. And what that provides for is that first there must be a discontent by the worker. So when the worker has a discontent, you put it forward, you express it, and you also give a notice that should my discontent not be handled in a period of 90 days, I will withdraw my labor. Our colleagues from humanities did that. The 90 days lapsed. It lapsed close to around 6th of this month. And all through those 90 days, about 3 months, consolidated months, the responsible authorities were all quiet until when the day came and industrial action started. So how this happened, how we have come up to this point, is something that was indeed inevitable. In my view, all efforts had been done by our colleagues, all cries had been put forward, all the, appeal and all that had been done. And so they only had one single option, and the option was to lay down the tools.
So in your perspective, the government has actually failed the teachers?
In my perspective, the government has acted so low in terms of responding to the requirements of teachers of humanities. Of course, like we said, those of scientists had been addressed. And you see the question here, the very immediate question here is fairness. Because humanities or scientists and whichever categories, these people are going to the same schools, undertaking the same amount, committing in the same amount, or sometimes even much more time in terms of delivering, doing related roles at schools. But when it comes to a moment of payment, there are selective considerations. And even then, it is clearly against the laws. First of all, the natural law of fairness. But also, like for example, for us in trade union, we are so much proud of the provisions by ILO. There is a full convention on equal remuneration, equal pay for equal work. Convention is C100. It is clear about that. Even our local constitution here, the National Constitution of 1995 as amended, has in Article 40 the article that details economic rights is very particular about the call for equal pay for equal work. When people of the same nature are doing the same related work, committing in the same and have the same competencies, they are expected to be paid equally without regard to either sex or this and that. Now what we are seeing are elements where people have the same qualifications from Makerere University, undertaking the same amount of time to study to become teachers, doing the same load of work at schools, and doing virtually everything similar. But simply because the other one is talking about a subject which is different from another, when it comes to time for payment, they are paid differently.
Now, I think
that is the basis.
The government would argue that given where it's headed to, the goal it's targeting, that sciences tend to cost more in terms of investment than the humanities subjects, and that's where that's the basis, that's the foundation. How would you counter-argue that? You see, that one is a good argument on the side of science. I mean, on the side of government, probably it is a strategic approach to government's fashion of work, but it is not backed by any law. I have just told you that ILO Convention is against that. I have told you that if you want to open the Constitution of Uganda, you would refer to Article 40, it's clear about that. Employment Act is emphatic about the same, equal pay for equal work, and even by natural justice. I mean, we are committing the same amount of time, we are all subjected to the same conditions, and then selectively you pick out one person against the other. So it does not so far hold to the extent of the environment that we have. All the laws are not in that favor. And even then, the explanation was, yes, we appreciate you all deserve equal pay, which is a very good thing, and that is what we are all asking for. But we are constrained, we do not have enough money, and therefore we are starting with one category. Painfully, the teachers accepted. I'm saying painfully because indeed that was not supposed to be the way. But in a way of mutual trust and spirit and all that kind of sacrifice, they say, okay, time shall come and we will get there. Right.
2-3 years down the road, it had only been on promises. And that has been the spark off of this problem. Just last week on Thursday, there was a meeting convened by First Lady Mama Janet Kataha Museveni and also Minister of Education, asking the teachers to go back to class. In the meeting, there was also representation from Minister of Finance, representation from Public Service, and the teachers themselves. And they were speaking about this same thing. But what sound came out of the meeting was that the government was still giving promises. Promises that had always been given and not fulfilled. So they gave them promises that as government, I think they gave them a three-pronged approach. Either to improve them, to enhance their salaries in a period of 2 years. But in that period of 2 years, the improvement, because it is coming in so short, would not match, would not equal to the pay for the scientist colleagues. Or to improve their salaries in a period of 3 years. 3 years meant that in the next financial year, which is 2026, 2027, they would enhance by 50%. And then the other 2 remaining years, they would improve by 25%. Or the third approach was to take 4 years, 2, 3, 4. There were 3 options. So the 4 years meant that for each one financial year, they would increase them by 25%. But you see, all this came in terms of we will, we will. And so it was merely promise. It is the same promises upon which teachers have survived for all that time since the element of selective enhancement started. And in the view of the members, it was in 2022.
Right, that's
around 2022, about 3 years ago.
Right.
So you can see, since then, it has been on the basis of we shall, and the commitments have never come through. So what we have picked from the voices of the teachers is that they are really not so sure about how true these commitments will come to pass.
Right.
Because there had been some promises which were not fulfilled. Then the other thing is, of course, for us to use this opportunity to call on the teachers that despite everything, ensure that you are together. Remain united. Because I know at one time there might be a moment when we really say maybe trust the statement as said by the
Actually, there
minister.
was the argument
yes.
that science teachers had one voice. They were always more united whenever they pushed for what they felt they wanted.
That is very true.
Whilst humanities teachers were quite split into bits.
No, humanities teachers then were just newly getting formed.
Right.
And so by the time the science teachers were pushing for their enhancement, the others were still in formative stages. We cannot fault them for that.
One would also wonder, aren't they all teachers? Why should they be in factions of science teachers and humanities teachers?
That is the biggest problem we have gotten as a country and as education sector. I think there are some invisible forces out there that proud in having us segmented into sects. So in a short, we'll even start seeing science teachers who will say, for us, we teach biology. And therefore, we are very different from those who teach mathematics. And therefore, we are very different from those who teach computer and so on and so forth. And that weakens us the more. Truly, our strength lies in our unity. And therefore, wherever we are, if we could even reconsider to go back to one single family that enjoying all of us, those working in government, including those working in private schools, because we are all teachers,
right,
and the agenda is the same, that would be the best thing. But now that we are where we are, those for humanities, my call, my advice is remain united. Listen to the leadership. And for the leadership, please take the statements of the members very seriously, because it is the members that make the agenda of the organization.
Right, 0709602592. That is the WhatsApp number for you to engage and be a part of this conversation. We are looking at teachers' industrial action. Humanities teachers, that is arts teachers, vow to continue with their strike. And with us in studio is Mr. Juma Mwamula to speak into this matter. Now, somebody comes through and says arts teachers deserve a fair treatment.
Definitely.
That discrimination should stop. Science teachers in Uganda teach history of science, which makes no difference. All right, Juma, now let's look at what happens to the students now, especially if they have exams coming forth. What's going on? What's going to happen? There's a parent who has paid that school fees very expectant of a result. Right.
It is very unfortunate that our children, the students, are losing out. It is also very unfortunate that all these unfortunate happenings are going to have a long-term spillover effect to our future generation. Because as I would tell you, my sister, lately the curriculum that we have is such a very compacted curriculum that every one single hour missed means a lot and can even impact on your final eventual results. So that one is a very regrettable status. But I think that regrettable situation is brought about by some of the unfair approaches that we are using in addressing the question of education. We truly need a balanced approach that is holistic. Now that the focus is on welfare of a teacher, when we are speaking about that, we need a holistic approach that addresses the question of welfare of a teacher. I want to tell you that as now, as we speak about the plight and therefore the strike of teachers in humanities, even the tutors of vocational institutions are warning, have already issued an ultimatum, and so soon we'll be seeing them on rampage. Our colleagues from primary section are also on standby. And the reason is we have not had a very clear approach to handling the question of teachers' welfare. Right. Instead, we have chosen those kind of segmented and pick here, pick there kind of approach, and it's going to take us into a lot of problem. Start with universities. While you sort the universities, secondary teachers now go on issues, and even for secondary schools, you go for a particular sector. Now when that is sorted, primary teachers will be... So we need a holistic approach to addressing the question of welfare of education, of teachers. Right. We need a holistic approach of addressing to how to better education, because at one time we might have a well-paid teacher. But how about posting that well-paid teacher to a school that does not have enabling facilities to enable that teacher to really do his or her work? It is a question, a big question. So in the eyes of the decision makers, especially Parliament, the ministry, and now our father, the president, is that let there be special dedication to the sector of education, to to really make sure that we have an overall holistic approach to bettering. Bettering in terms of improving the schooling facilities, in terms of having a motivated teacher, and all other enabling circumstances that can help us have better education. Today we have a new curriculum that has not been fully appreciated by the implementers, the teachers themselves. Whereas they are on strike, but when they go back, for example, O-level curriculum that has not been practiced, when they go back, really, A-level, yes, A-level. When they go back, they will still have questions on how to implement, what to teach, and so on and so forth. So we need to answer all these things and answer them very systematically, such that we know that we are at this stage and this is how we are moving, and there is a future that is known and appreciated by all stakeholders.
Right.
But those piecemeal approaches might take us into another waste of time, and that shall impact on our generation.
And that's a longer period of time of learners losing out on what should have been taking them ahead in their education career. Now, is there a condition that teachers have stated they should base on to bring them back to class? Should it be fulfilled?
The voices from humanities teachers is clear. When they went for the strike, it was a call for increase of their pay.
Right.
The government can provide an option or an approach of how that increment is going to be done. But so far what seems to be coming out very loudly is that I think they are ready to go to class for as long as there is increase in their pay. So whereas the government may not have immediate cash, all the cash at hand, I think it is just very prudent that it would get some little money, commit it, and maybe this same month or next month be able to pay that money. Now there, on that basis, you can ask that you wait in the next financial year. Of course, we know that the increment has not been budgeted before for this financial year. There was no such a consideration for teachers, even when reminders went through. But maybe we can now have a supplementary, because after all, our budgets are run on supplementary. Very soon we are about to see supplementaries from different ministries, maybe from different agencies, and so on and so forth.
Right.
If we have a special regard for teachers, it is the time. We can have that supplementary. First of all, to commit some little money as an indication that there is really a very practical commitment for the government to support the teachers. And now when that is done, we can able call them to go back to teachers. And by the way, let us not risk to bulldoze the teachers to go back to class without this, because they will be there in body, but when their spirit, when their soul, when their commitment is out of class. And that is the most dangerous thing we can have for our children. It is better that they are even not there if we know they are discontented, than they would be there when they are actually disgruntling inside them. So the best thing is, and this is a kind call to the government, please get some money. And let that money be the basis for which we say teachers go back to classes. Pay that money, maybe it can come through a supplementary budget, and on the basis of that, we can now make the promises that you see we have started with this small one because we had not well adequately planned. But next financial year, we'll be able to do this and that.
Right.
People already have the mistrust because the promises have always been there since the time when the increment, selective increment was done. But those promises had not been coming through. So that's the problem. And now one way to break that is to provide something real. And that is people can touch. Yes,
right.
Something
if you are on the show, if you are a teacher, this is a conversation that you should participate in and share your opinions and your heartfelt 2 cents in it. For the last 4 years, government has been talking of phased salary enhancements, and that is for teachers, or even signed agreements with UNATU, but never fulfilled any. So no salary enhancement, no class. Force us to class. Remember, it's election time. We shall meet in the polling stations. We know the enemy to attack.
Is that a comment from one of the viewers?
Yes, it's a viewer.
You see, that is the unfortunate thing.
This must be John B. or Pila.
That is
Lo
the unfortunate
Amoria.
thing. And John is being so honest. That is what is going to happen. First of all, it's going to have a very heavy cost on our leaders, the politicians who are going into political contestation.
Right, yeah.
But it is also going to have a very disastrous impact in the classroom. I mean, it is so cheap for a teacher to get into a classroom and just have non-productive conversations with his children. And that is the danger. Somebody is committing his time, come to school with bags and so on, and when the teacher appears before them, they are speaking about manu, they are speaking about the next coming match, they are speaking about beauty pageants around and all the elections that are around. And by the way, nowadays, schools are used as change agents for politics.
They are.
So we do not need to risk up to that point.
They are.
We need to have people who are in class with a motivation to teach.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. Mr. Juma makes a point of schools being used as electoral agents, and I'm reminded of my own experience in my P3 when someone came and campaigned for a presidential candidate, and I wonder what P3 we had to do with that at that time. But indeed, these things are really happening.
Maybe they meant that you pick the message and carry it to your parents.
Perhaps so.
Yeah.
He even carried a lot of sweets for us.
Because I know there are so many children who are impacting on their children. Mommy, you know you're going for voting, but make sure you vote my candidate. Mommy, who did you vote for? Who did you support? And all that kind of thing.
As if that child has the 2 cents to understand what goes on in the country. But let's have a look at what this year's UNEB looks like if this strike goes on. For candidates, what does it look like?
One thing I trust is that UNEB has a very structured program, and its arrangements will come and pass.
Right.
One of their duty is to prepare the examinations, administer them, give them to the children, do evaluations and return the results. That is going to be done. UNEB is like a nurse. You get your own pregnancy, go to the facility, and for them theirs is to facilitate your delivery of the baby. The nature of your baby is your own matter. Whether it's going to be a Chinese baby, it is because you had an engagement with the Chinese. So the engagement we are seeing now of our children in school is that there is absence of a teacher. There is absence, there is non-commitment, there is lack of morale of one group of teachers.
Right.
And that is what our children are going through now, about 2-3 years down the road. So when UNEB does its work, which is going to be based on the scope of the curriculum, because for them they will say that for O level this is the examinable scope, for A level this is the examinable scope, and so they will set their work from that range. Now, this is a student who has been missing a teacher for a whole year, missing a teacher through this time when the teachers are on strike, or having a teacher who is merely present in a classroom, but when actually is not committed to teaching, the results are going to be seen in what UNEB is going to reveal to us. Right. And we should not throw any blame to UNEB, because for them, their role would only be to deliver what has been prepared. So the biggest burden now will come to us. There are situations I have heard that sometimes when there is poor performances, UNEB will try to do some adjustment in terms of gradings. I think for purposes of, I really do not want to go into those technicalities. Maybe they will come and explain. But one thing is that there are always some adjustments in gradings. Right. So that might give a deceptive picture to us as a country. But subsequently, when these people graduate into adults who should be working, is when you will see the real problem, the real fire. That level of inabilities to do what people are supposed to do less of what we expect of them, is going to manifest itself, because the training has been very inadequate, the schooling has been very inadequate. And therefore, that is the core call for which, as a country, we must be concerned. We believe that the Ministry of Education must take much more deeper concern. We are thankful Mama organized the meeting of social dialogue. That was a spirit, really, that this kind of thing should stop. But maybe beyond the physical meeting like that we had, we should have a commitment of the money. Because the question here is money to cause increment. So maybe Mama may continue to look around as a parent and see how she can provide for her children.
Right.
Minister of Finance did the participation. The same is expected of them. Apart from giving the promises, let there be the real practical solutions, because teachers' call at this time is money. Teachers want money.
Mr. Juba reminds me of that meme, Twagala Sente, Twagala Sente. Now, let me delve into your comments. Phillips from Karamoja here says, in Uganda, invisibility is in disorganization of organized institutions. Definitely, there should be individuals who want to make groups like teachers not to be organized for easy manipulations. Discrimination of teachers is too criminal. All teachers, being it those teaching science or art subjects, must be paid uniformly. A difference can only be by adding risk allowances to science teachers. Can science teachers get their language for instruction and communication and stop using English, an art subject? I am a scientist teacher, but I can't see such discrimination. This is Phillips from Karamoja. And moving on, good morning, Julie and everyone. To me, I request government to find another way to motivate science teachers to promote science rather than dividing teachers through salaries. Even a primary kid would not use that strategy. The problem is that citizens can't advise this government, as they do things to their own interests with wrong advisors in government. Today, it's teachers, tomorrow it's health workers. May God intervene. As humanities teachers, we are very steadfast and determined this time. We need equal remuneration now, not tomorrow. Government should desist from coercion but address issues. Teachers, please vote wisely. Kayanja David, teacher of entrepreneurship in Amuru District. Let the MAPs and let the MPs and ministers also be paid according to science and art scale. Hey. This is violence.
It is far-reaching.
We have been demoralized enough. No enhancement, no class. Government should think twice and support the teachers. The lies in form of commitments are now overdue. The teachers are more than determined to stay home even longer until their demands are met. I see most of you really are in line with putting down your tools and staying with what you believe is right. Now, do you feel the government values teachers equally with the meetings that have been going on, the conversations that you've seen going on, and based on what you believe technically, as advisors are advising whichever the ministries are and the different players, do you think there's an equal mindset, but just the conditions around are deterring government from delivering the way you expect them to?
There is a very popular saying that actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, right.
Whereas it has never come out loudly by any authority to say that we have preference of this category over the other. But in terms of the actions, we can note that our colleagues of one section have overly been prioritized compared to the others.
Right.
I think there is even one moment when one of the senior leaders was saying, my science teachers, using that kind of statement. And so if we want to evaluate it at that basis, we would say that there seem to be a preferential consideration and imagination that teachers teaching sciences are more important than teachers teaching arts. But we probably want to correct that kind of thinking. First of all, it is good for purposes of spurring national development. Science and innovation is something very important. We really need the factories. We need that scientific innovations that can help to do this and that. But we have always cautioned that all the innovations that we are about to bring about must be innovations that have a sense of humanity. It must be such innovations that are for development of humanity.
Right.
And that is not studied in physics. Physics will tell you how to do a bomb. And now if you do not have the sense of humanity, you might think that you are going to use your bomb like the cases of these ones we are seeing roaming around our streets. And yet, if you had a humane kind of sense, you would then realize that that bomb that you're inventing should be used for protecting our territorial integrity.
Right.
But that element of you distinguishing it, that it should not be used for Kalere, for threatening people of Kalere, instead it should be used for territorial, for keeping our territorial sanctity and integrity, is brought in the subjects of, for example, religion.
Right.
It is perhaps brought from the sciences or from the subjects of Uganda, that is going to teach you about how to cordially relate and the benefit of that cordial relationship. So it is very risky and extremely risking, one, to the education sector, but also to the entire country, for us to say that one group is going to be taken as a priority. That very good scientist person who has no value for humanity is a much more danger even than somebody who is probably an artist. So we want a holistic person who has the know-how, but also has the humane face, the humane spirit in him. Right. And that humane spirit is going to be brought in what we are considering as priority teaching areas. So really, speaking about as to whether there is one lot that is overly prioritized, is something we should not go into as a country. We should look as our teachers holistically and as one group. And even for the teachers, we need to desist from dividing ourselves on the basis of our subjects, on the basis of our religion and other things. Right. Together, we are much more stronger. Together, we are much more advantaged. And yet, there are some invisible forces that are proud of seeing us segmented into our smaller groups. Maybe so soon we'll start seeing, for us, we are teachers from the CVD, from that faith of born again. For us, we are teachers from the Muslims, and therefore we have our own agenda as Muslim teachers. For us, we are teachers who are teaching primary, and therefore we want. That is a very big risk that we are all moving to, and we are playing in the hands of our tormentors. So the best is to remain united. The best is to ask that we are all teachers, and therefore we all deserve to be respected. We all deserve the same. Even our colleagues today who are enjoying the better pay should even be the loudest in terms of raising voices to ask that their counterparts are also raised to the point where they are. Because we are all teachers and our roles are interjoined. You cannot assume that you will take one and leave the other. No, right. We all move together. Like somebody is saying there, that scientists should have their own language. I mean, you cannot better teach physics when the children do not appreciate English. You can never. So all these things are integrated, and so there is no way we should carry on an agenda of thinking that there is any group that is special or particular from the other.
Right. Kezia comes through and says, hello, point of correction. The issue is not some money. The issue is equal pay. Because True. In all the 4 years, nothing has been done as promised. Thank you, Kezia, for coming through. Your comments are really such an avalanche. And with just the same voice. Good morning, presenter. Thank you for the show. As an arts teacher, the disparities in salaries are bringing a lot of confusion in the sector. All teachers' lives matter. A promise is a debt, and who promises needs to fulfill. I'm Kakoza from Wakiso. Now, Juma, what would you tell or advise a parent watching right now? Because for parents, their mindset is on the money they pay to the schools.
Fees that they are paying.
The school fees, exactly. But what advice would you engage them in on? What mindset would you want them to carry in this particular moment?
Education sector, it is even the Education Act where the stakeholders are well enumerated, and part of their roles are also stated. Among others are the parents, the students themselves, right. The community, the church, and everything. So just like all other players, parents at this stage have an obligation to appreciate the situation as is now.
Right.
That is the beginning point. Please understand what's the problem. Before you cry that you teacher, why are you not teaching my child, and so on and so forth, understand what's the problem. And let us all rally behind the voices to make sure that the problem is corrected once for all. Because I have already warned, that as parents we may want to demonize the teachers out there and therefore somehow coerce them to be into classes. But if you are taking the body and you have not taken the soul, we risk much more.
Right.
Teachers are capable of going into classrooms, of relating with your children when actually they are not doing the real teaching, and that is the biggest danger we can have. So we should not even be part of that ploy.
Right.
Instead, let's be the advocates who appreciate the situation under which teachers are going. Let's be the agents who say that there must be something done to address this question once for all. If we do not, I have already told you that we are going to have this increased confusion, one group after another. It started sometime way back, it was UNATU. Of course, then UNATU was for all teachers. But somehow, our colleagues from scientists came up. And now there was also a sit down for some time until when their question was handled.
Right.
Now today it is the humanities who are on, at a sit down. Just a few days ago, our colleagues, the tutors in vocational institutions, gave an ultimatum. So soon we'll hear these voices coming from teachers in primary education. And so we cannot handle this by coercion. We cannot handle this by demonizing and saying, you teachers, you're too bad, you're only thinking about money, you're not handling our children. No. We need to answer it by, first of all, appreciating their situation. And the situation here is a miserable welfare. The situation here is unfairness.
Right.
Because like we said, you are in the same classroom, you have the same things, same workload, but then a person X is carrying away 4 million, while for you, you have 800,000. That element of unfairness is what we are talking about. So may the voices of the parents and the entire community be for purposes of making sure that there is fairness in the education sector.
So in other words, even parents have to join
parents,
the cause.
Children themselves, the entire community, maybe church,
Science
religious
teachers.
services, even the science teachers at this stage should rally behind and make the government appreciate that there is a need for urgency to act on this. Because the problem is, when education dies, it impacts all of us.
Right.
For you, a rich parent who is out there, who think that after all, those of science are studying well. I mean, you will have a scientist study, he goes to university and graduate as a doctor, and you will find him in a hospital without any virtue for humanity. And that is the biggest danger you will have.
Right.
Those are the people who will only want to see millions of money paid before he can lay his hand on you, when actually his call of duty is to save life.
Yes.
But because he has no humanity in him or her, he will not do that. So this is a community, a societal, a generational problem and agenda that we must all embrace ourselves to, including you, our colleagues in the journalist sector.
Right.
We hope that you can especially dedicate maybe a month or this whole season to always speak about the issues of teachers. Even when the agenda is about agriculture, make sure the speech for teachers is brought out.
Right. Now, this conversation is definitely coming to its end, but the comments, wow. Yeah, I can tell from the comments that indeed this strike is on and it's still here. Thank you so much, Juma Mwamula, for joining us. Juma Mwamula is the General Secretary, Uganda Private Teachers Union, as well as Vice Chairman General NOTU, and he's been with us talking into the matter of arts teachers vowing to continue their strike as we look at the teachers' industrial action. That is it from us to you. Ruben is coming up with the sports, and GMU Extra will be coming up as well. But on a lighter note, today is Mama Janet's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Mama.
Happy birthday, Honorable Minister. Happy birthday, Mama.
Yes, happy birthday.
May you live much more longer.
Indeed, and may the good Lord bless you with long life and ability to serve your nation and to inspire the nation, especially the girl child. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Hello, Kampala, Uganda. In response to the national call of strengthening the traffic security, Good Products Group HGO brand has officially launched the Rider Selection Campaign. Registration is now open. Visit www.riders.hgo.com. Complete your registration now for a chance to win exciting prizes including motorcycles, exclusive HGO gift boxes, and official rider vests, all while promoting safe riding awareness. This is how to participate. Pay the registration fee, invite 3 friends to form a team of 4, and your registration fee will instantly be refunded. Begin your journey of honor today. Don't miss this opportunity. Join the challenge, promote road safety, and become a pioneer rider. For details, visit the official Good Products website at www.hgo.com or call toll free 0800 335 555 or visit our offices at Kingdom Kampala, 3rd floor to